and we will look at for sale by owners and expireds. Let's see. Ooh. All right, so where are we at today? What have you done in the last 24 hours for lead generation, Deanna?
Going through the list and getting, checking the history. If it's good and it's not been relisted, well, that I could tell. What do you suggest on that? I mean, even though it shows listing, pull it up and see if it's active.
Yeah, I would just put it by the address just to verify. But like you're going to come across some that maybe have sold on their own, and you'll just be looking at, what you're going to get the most results from. So if it's just an exception that one or two has it, or if it's just a pattern, trying out that expired list and working it. I'm proud of you for doing that. So that's awesome. It does take a little extra research.
Oh yes, it's time consuming. But that's what I've been doing. I'm making my list, and then once I get a good, a handful, to the Landglide app to get the mailing address, and then send them a letter trying to convince them to use me as an agent to represent them to sell their land, and then do a follow-up if I can find their number.
Yes. Did you look at, I posted in our Facebook group.
I saw it. I hadn't had a chance to look at it.
Okay. Somebody said they checked it out and there was good phone numbers on there. Somebody else said to try the Forewarn app too, that you can get people's number from that. If you put the address in, you can reverse it and get the
I've had some luck with the white pages. But I have also come across no name on file or no record or anything like that.
Yeah. Well,
that's where I stand right now.
Awesome. I'm proud of you. And so you've gotten a lot of ahas and a lot of, what you need to tweak for next time. And I love hearing that. All right. So let's look at for sale by owners. Okay. So if you want to look at the statistics, let me see what page I'm on here. We want to look through, it skipped, myths. Wonder why I did that. Myths about for sale by owners. So there's a myth that for sale by owners do not want to deal with real estate agents. But the truth is only 8% of for sale by owners say they don't want to deal with an agent. So that's not necessarily the truth. The truth may be, they just have different reasons. So here are some of the reasons that people for sale by owner. Oh, I'm having trouble with the slides today. Okay, so 47% don't want to pay a commission, with 33% ending up the seller knew the buyer, or 61% seller does not know the buyer. So out of the 47%, 33% people knew somebody that bought their home, and 61% did not know anybody. Sold it to a relative, friend, or neighbor. Buyer was contacting the seller directly to purchase. So it means a buyer went and found the for sale by owner. The for sale by owner did not want to deal with an agent, or the agent was unable to sell the home, so it had been previously listed, right? The seller has a real estate license, or the seller could not find a suitable agent. So these are some of the reasons that people choose to sell their home themselves. So there's a couple of different types of for sale by owner. You want to look at the closed market. So that's the private transaction that occur between friends or family, and it's never publicized, right? Or the open market, and that's when someone puts a sign in the yard, they don't have a buyer lined up, and they go through the motions of everything a person would do that had an agent, right? They do the open house, they maybe create some marketing, they publish it out there. And that's two different ways you can look at for sale by owner. The next thing we're talking about is expires. So expired and withdrawn. Expired is one that did not sell during the listing contract. So initially, when you sign a listing agreement, you agree for 6 months, 3 months, a year, whatever it may be. And I tell everybody, if the seller will let you, go for 6 months, right? Well, at this day and age, the market is shifting. And so you want that extra time, but that extra time may not be necessary in this market. Whereas when it's a buyer's market, you're going to need that more time on the market. And you know that average home sales in our area at 90 days. That's still 90 to 100 days. So you don't want to do a 3-month listing agreement. That doesn't make sense. And we know that, even with having a seller and a buyer under contract, it's looking at about 45 days to close. So if you have even something on day one lined up to close and it for somehow falls through and you've only signed a listing agreement for 3 months, that doesn't give you a lot of wiggle room, right? So when you take the listing, you want to have as much time as possible, and make sure that you have an ample amount of time to have that home listed and marketed, that you can get it under contract. And when you are coming through with expired listings, the important thing to find out is why their home didn't sell originally. So they've already said they're willing to work with an agent. They've already, understand the process of the listing agreement and going through all of that. But they were not happy and they did not have the results they wanted, because the reason you list a home is to sell a home. So it's very important to ask the questions on what do you think didn't happen that should have. And then withdrawn is something being pulled from the market before the listing expires. So the owners may have changed their mind, the circumstance may have been changed. Maybe they weren't really motivated to begin with to sell and they were just testing it out. And they said, you know what, this is not working. So in withdrawn listings may also be temporary. So that's important to know when you're looking at lead generating through the withdrawn. It may be a temporary situation. So it may be, hey, we need to remodel our bathroom. We listed it initially, but we come to find out we've got to do X, Y, and Z to the house before it's ready to sell. So then they withdraw the listing and then to bring it back later with the intentions of bringing it back on the market.
Now, you've mentioned expired. I see expired and withdrawn, listings in the handbook and everything, but nothing's been mentioned. Why is it terminated? What's the meaning of terminated?
So terminated would be terminated, withdrawn are very similar. So withdrawn, I would say it's more of like a pause, with the terminated being I'm done with the situation. But terminated could also look like expired, right? So maybe it's a seller frustrated with the agent or the agency, and they want to terminate the listing agreement. It doesn't change their motivation. They still want to sell their home, but they terminate that agreement with that agent for whatever reason.
Okay. It's been.
So it could be they decide they don't want to sell anymore, or they just don't want to be in agreement with that agent and agency anymore.
Right. Okay.
So that's where all these conversations, there's so many if, ands, and buts in each one of these categories. And that's honestly why a lot of people don't want to deal with for sale by owners expireds and withdrawals and things like that, because it takes a lot of time getting to the bottom of what is your motivation. But if you can master that consultation and the conversation, you can crank it out, because you already have enough people. Your pool to work with is greater. They're already, have the intention or did have the intention of selling. So you can have that conversation, especially in a seller's market. Did you know in your area, homes are selling for X amount of dollars with X amount of days, where prior, maybe when they had listed or terminated, that wasn't the market they experienced, right? So you can just bring that up. So some reason houses don't sell, they're overpriced relative to the existing market. So that's when you pull that report and you see, okay, this expired, but it was listed at $250. In this neighborhood, everything's selling at $199. That's a big gap there. They're in poor condition. They need some repairs or things. And so maybe between the time, listed to now, something has taken place, or they weren't marketed well. There's several reasons for homes not selling. And before making contact, find out for sure, of course, if it has actually expired or been withdrawn. If it hasn't, soliciting the listing would be a violation of the Code of Ethics. So that's why you've got to make sure to do the homework on these expired and withdrawn listings. So we do know about the do not call list. If you are in communication with somebody, you come across someone's phone number, you have a conversation with them, and they say, put me on the do not call list, that you, under no circumstances, do you remain in contact with that individual. It could be a very, very, very hefty fine. You want to make sure that you're having conversations that you have permission with, and you're not soliciting from anybody without their permission. We have a protection under the Telephone Consumer Protection Act, just making sure you're not harassing anyone. It's important to say. Okay, so limiting beliefs. Myth: you can only succeed with for sale by owners and expire withdrawn listings by being aggressive and direct. But the truth is, you can win with for sale by owners and expired withdrawn listings by coming from contribution, establishing trust, and staying in touch. You can find comfortable ways to work with people, and you already know they want to sell the home. So you want to capitalize on that motivation and come from contribution, giving them information on the market, allowing them to know the value of their home. That's really important. You know, it's many times the largest asset anybody will ever know. So coming from contribution and helping them know the value of that asset and that home and what the market's doing, it is incredibly valuable. You always want to respect people, ask how you can help, and tap into the great opportunity. So here are 6 ways to win with for sale by owners and expired listings. You can get the listing. You can find a buyer for the house. You can help the seller purchase the home. You can refer the seller to another agent if they are moving out of town, per se. You can meet potential customers by offering to host an open house for them. And you can help the seller write up business if the seller finds a buyer for a transaction broker, or just a negotiated commission. And that would be that transaction broker agreement where there's not a fiduciary relationship, but you can write up the document and you don't have to put it on MLS. You just process it through that transaction broker, depending on what they want. For sale by owner and expired withdrawn listings are grouped together by real estate agents when they talk about lead generation. Here are the reasons. They're business ready leads. They're people who want to sell a house and they have announced it to the world. Most agents prospect each group in a similar fashion, such as calling them during daily lead generation time. And you have solutions to the problems. You can help them sell, hold open houses, find qualified buyers. You can save them time, price a house to sell, reduce their hassles by handling administrative work, and negotiating to get the best possible deal for them. There's a lot of opportunity. So there are a couple of different approaches when dealing with for sale by owners or expireds. So Diana Kokoska has a direct approach. And these are the direct aggressive agents, and they want to be the first ones to call. They seek to have a one-on-one conversation as soon as possible. It starts becoming a game, right? You want to be the first one to walk in their door and have a conversation with them about how you can help them. Diana says, be honest and straightforward with people. And Diana feels that if you are straightforward and honest with people, they will trust you. You need to ask permission and say, do you want me to be honest with you? When people say yes, you grant their wish. Call them first and call them often is her approach. She would call newly expired listings between 7 and 8 in the morning, which gave her the best chance of catching them before they went to work. One of the most frequent answers she heard from prospective sellers when asked what they planned to do next to sell their home was they planned to continue to work with the same agent. Her response after getting permission to be honest is, you know, some people say that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over again, expecting to get different results. So I'm curious, what is your agent going to do this time that they didn't do last time? That is a really, really good question, right? If the seller said they're thinking about interviewing other agents, she would say, great, because she was there and ready to be interviewed. If they said they had already chosen another agent, she would say, great. But if your doctor told you you needed surgery, wouldn't you want a second opinion? This is financial surgery you're getting into, and you've got a lot of money tied up in your home. Let's get together so that I can give you a second opinion. That's another direct approach. Mm-hmm. If she did not get the appointment the first time around, Diana would continue to contact the potential customers until she did, or until they told her to stop. Taking the direct approach is tough for many because it means asking questions so the people self-discover their agent did not give them the best service, rather than telling them that. But Diana found that her aggressive style resulted in increased business, and at the end of the day, both she and the new customers benefited. So that's one approach. Say, hey, can I be honest with you? You know, why do you think your house didn't sell? What do you think, you know, what's your next step? Well, I'm going to go with, you know, the agent that didn't sell my house the last 6 times. Well, so what's going to change, right? Then there's the indirect approach. So some agents feel more comfortable putting the additional time and effort into going with the indirect approach. And this lets the seller self-discover the need for your services. So this is an example of Jean Grubb in Austin, Texas. She had an indirect approach with for sale by owners. She used a modified 8x8 plan in 2 weeks. So number 1, she made an appointment to preview the home. Number 2, she previewed the home, and while doing so, looked for something she could help do later. Number 3, write a note thanking the owner for allowing her to preview the home. 4, she acted on information in step 2 to provide help for the homeowner. Maybe a flyer with relevant statistics, a tip sheet on fixing up the house. If they said they were looking for, you know, a bug person, a landscaper, a pool person, XYZ, you fill in the blank there. And then she tailored it and would deliver it in person. 5, she would show the house if she had a potential buyer and the homeowner had indicated that they were willing to pay a buyer commission. So if you're working with a buyer, show the home. And I would say maybe even if it wasn't a good fit for the buyer, because that will put you in a good light, right? Offer to host an open house. So she explained to the homeowner, since she's looking for buyers in general, the homeowner was looking for a specific buyer, they could both benefit. She did this only if the homeowner was willing to pay a buyer side commission. Mm-hmm. At this point, if they're not willing to pay the commission, she would move on without pushing. Number 7, she would offer to advertise the house on her website. If they agreed, she would advertise the house as a for sale by owner, include the price and general information, but not a specific address. To gather additional information, a prospective buyer would need to contact Jean directly. Number 8, she would send or drop off a flyer with personalized information about the local market. She liked to keep for sale by owners she was working with informed of homes that had sold in their area. This gave her an opportunity to talk about why another house sold, but the for sale by owner was still on the market. On occasion, if a for sale by owner asked her why another house had sold and if that house was still pending taking backups, she would take the customer to look at the house. She said if her timing was right, the homeowners were starting to tire of handling everything themselves, and she would take the listing without ever asking for it. A perfect example of winning with the indirect approach. Yep. So that's a tactic, right? Let's see. Don't make the mistake of not following up. If you reach out, you need to follow up with a consistent intensity. So if it's every week, if it's every 4 days, whatever it is, start here and continue it on. That's where you're going to see the payoff. All right, mindset. You want to set realistic expectations. You need to know what it takes to get someone to do business with you. Not everybody is going to accept your offer of assistance. Top agents have to make a lot of calls to get an appointment. Keep track of the number of calls you make, the number of conversations you have, and the number of appointments you set. That will give you a realistic expectation of the number of calls you need to make in order to reach your goal. Gary Keller recalls that when he started working as a real estate agent, it was difficult to realize that he could work very hard and have no guarantee of taking home a check. He wanted to know what he had to do to make sure he could get paid. He read a Tom Hopkins book that said it took 100 contacts to find one person who would buy or sell a house with you. But even that large number gave him perspective and encouragement. He kept measuring his success against it. The exact number doesn't matter because it's different for each person. There are a lot of variables. What you have to do is make enough calls to determine your conversion rate. Then you know how many calls you have to make on average to achieve your goals. And don't let rejection get you down. Don't worry when you don't get the appointment. It's not the homeowner that doesn't like you. It's the person is not interested in what you are offering at the present time. Top agents get rejected every day. So will you. Realize this is a numbers game and you will likely hear plenty of no's before you get your yes. But if you stick with it, you'll get there. For sale by owners choose to sell their home on their own, so their first reaction may very well be, I don't need you. But what you know and they don't know, it's very difficult to sell a house. In a few weeks, they will be frustrated and more anxious to sell the home. That's why you keep in touch, so you'll be there when they're ready to do business. Keep in mind, you're going to get better and prospecting will get easier the more you do it. You want to come from contribution. What can I do to help you today? Think about the prospect's interests and focus on how you can help. Here are some things to offer that will demonstrate to a prospect how you can help them. Knowledge of the market. We talk about market stats all the time. Tips for selling a home and tips on staging. So, I mean, you think that's pretty obvious, and yet these are not the things that the for sale by owner is necessarily thinking about. All they're thinking about is, I want to sell this house and I want to make a lot of money. And if I don't have to pay an agent commission, then I'm going to make more money, right? Well, the truth of the matter is for sale by owners on average net 20% less by selling their own home because they don't know the market, right? So, even tips on, getting the home ready to sell, even home warranty information, even connection with, inspector, termite, closing attorneys. All of those things would be extremely helpful for someone trying to sell their home, and they may not think of them themselves, right? You can offer services, holding an open house, providing pointers on how to hold an open house, doing a market analysis, creating a virtual tour of the home for them, and do a financial pre-qualification on potential buyers. So, hey, you have buyers that come by that aren't qualified, connect them with me, and if you're willing to pay a buyer's commission, I'll get these buyers ready to go, right? So steps for working with a for sale by owner. You need to know what you're going to say. You need to prepare your materials to give them. Create an 8x8 customized for them. Set your goals. Find for sale by owners and organize your information on each listing. So know what you're going to say. Know what the common objections are going to be. There's no more than 5 of them. If you figure out what you're going to say for every 5 things that they're going to object to, you're good to go. You don't have to know everything, right? You need to be able to, have the conversation at a high level. Preparing materials. So what is something that would be useful to sellers? We've already talked about that. Top 10 mistakes home sellers make. Get something off the internet. We have homekeeper sites that is constantly sending me an email saying the article is ready to be published. Any of those, anything with the market stats, anything on, tips for selling your home. You could create something yourself, or you could get something offline. Just having something to hand somebody. So here's some getting your home ready to sell, 10 steps to selling a home, selling your home yourself, 27 quick and easy fix-ups to sell your home fast. There's all kinds of articles and topics that you could very easily get the information and then have that printed and ready. A good for sale by owner packet could be something like testimonials, a folder with your logo on it, right? Having a cover sheet, having a sign-in sheet for them, just a blank, welcome to our home. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So somebody can come in and sign in. That's something a for sale by owner would never think about.
Yes, that's one of the attachments that's in this package, isn't it?
Perfect.
Yeah, it's in. I've got that, and
That's why the way you keep it with you, you're prepared, right?
Yeah.
You create a couple of those.
And the safety tips was the other thing that was in there.
Safety tips. Maybe like some people say base contracts. Now the contract cannot say KW Montgomery on it, but we have our base board contracts that you can get off Matrix that have no logo on it, right? And it's just state approved contract. Create a list of vendors.
Yeah.
Title companies in the area, lenders in the area, termite inspectors in the area, pool people, landscapers, contractors. Just create a list of 2 or 3 for maybe a couple of categories you think a homeowner is going to need, and just create it and have Deanna Leslie KW Montgomery at the bottom of that. A seller's disclosure form. Now that's not legally required, but it's required by our brokerage, but how helpful is it when you have a buyer and the seller has that document? So this may be something they had not thought about. A homeowners association information, right? Business cards, and then about you. Just create you a little packet and have several different items in it. So when you speak to and you go on these appointments, you have something. And if you run into somebody driving down the road and you want to stop, you've got something to give them, and just introduce yourself and say, hey, this is my for sale by owner packet. I wanted to let you know about it. Now the 8x8, let's see.
That's what I got to work on.
Okay, so here's an example. Touch 1, right? You're going to preview the property and leave your packet.
Okay.
Touch 2 and 3, send a postcard or letter and call. So if you send a letter like you're talking about, then you call them to follow up. Or and then week 4, so that's week 1, 2, 3, 4, we're up to 4, and then you make another phone call checking in, maybe the next week. Because they're going to say, oh, I've got this, and since we talked, somebody came by and they were asking about the blah, 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 and I thought I wanted to do blah, 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 blah. We'll just follow up on that phone call. So, this, that, and the other. Touches 5 and 7, sending another letter or postcard, and then making another call. So that's 3 calls and three materials, 2 of which could just be generic. This is what I do and this is who I am. 1 can be a market material. This is what the market's doing in your area. So it's important to kind of have some stock. What do you want to say, right?
Yes.
So here's an example of Gene Rivers, some postcards he does for sale by owners. Price, condition, competition, marketing, showing, price reductions, marketing that just reduced. What do I do now? So you're coming up with what would be, helpful to them so that they can go, man, oh, did you know homes are selling at $150,000 and offers accepted in 3 days and closing in 90 days in your area? And you want to make it specific to, like, I'm not going to do Montgomery market stats in the city of Montgomery for eclectic. that's not going to make sense to the market I'm doing in. So I'm going to say in eclectic, and then, you know, have some information there. All right, so this is an exercise to write down a question, statement, something of value, or script you can use for sale by owners. So as we're sitting here talking, what are some things that you're thinking of while we're looking through creating an 8x8, creating your 8x8? What are some things you're thinking about, Deanna, that we've talked about today?
For land, it's a little
Mm-hmm.
bit more difficult. Next week I'm gonna do land this week, and then next week I'm gonna go back to working with for sale by owners, and sure, I don't know.
So where are you going to find the for sale by owners?
Where?
Mm-hmm.
Been doing it on Zillow.
Okay, so Zillow is a good resource. You could use forsalebywowner.com is a good resource, and create you a good list so you have something to work off of, right? And then, you know, have, okay, what are my packets? Create your little packets, right? It doesn't have to be a ton of stuff, but something for each one of those for sale by owners, and make it a mission next week to go to each one of those addresses and hand out your packet. In that packet, I would include market information on that area or neighborhood, and then call them to follow up. It's easy as knocking on the door and saying, hey, I see you got your house for, you know, up for sale. I'm working with buyers and sellers in your area. I just wanted to introduce myself and leave you with some information. It doesn't have to be a whole thing. Now, if they invite you in and say, oh, Deanna, come in, I want you to tell me about selling my house, that's become something different. But if you want to just go into it with the mindset of, I'm dropping this packets off because they're valuable, and then, you know, follow up. Say, hey, would it be okay if I follow up with you? And either get their information from there or have it from your list, and then follow up with them in a couple days. Hey, did you have a chance to look through the packet of information? Do you have any questions, or is there anything else I can do for you? And then they go on, you know, and based on whatever they say, maybe send a mailer. So you just want to put them on some sort of where you're always touching them. And they say 8 touches in 8 weeks. And what Diana says is she does 8 touches in 2 weeks, because she knows in about the 2 week, the month mark, you know, they're getting kind of, okay, I want to sell this. I want something to happen. So she compresses it a little bit.
Yeah.
You want to practice your scripts and any objections they may have. And that's a great thing. I know I jumped on y'all's group call, your coaching call this week, but let's talk through some objections and scripts that a for sale by owner would have. So what's an objection a for sale by owner is going to say? Deanna, I don't want to work with you because, what objection would they have?
From experience, even myself, the number one is they can't afford it. They don't want to pay the commission.
They don't want to pay the commission. Okay, so that's one. So write that one down. Pay commission. What's another one?
They feel that they are in a good enough area that they don't need any help from a real estate agent to sell it.
So they don't need help. That's the second one,
They don't need our help.
right? So that's the second one. They don't need a professional. Number 3, I think would be they've had a bad experience with a realtor. So that the bad experience, you can work around that. Number 4 would probably be, you know, we talked about the commission, but oh, my mind just went blank. They just don't feel like it's necessary. So those are good, 3 good ones to start with. Okay. So with the one commission, they feel like they're going to make more money. But when you have that conversation and then you're able to bring contribution and show them what a professional looks like, I see Mr. Seller, you've got your home listed for, $200,000 and the market in your area is at 215. Well, did you know that at this price point, this is the commission? But if we have a conversation, and since it's a seller's market, we price it just right, you can get offers above and beyond the list price within just a few days. Would that not solve your problem? So it's having, they think, okay, I don't want to pay you, but if you tell me you can help me make more money, I want to hear that, right? So, the commission in their head is so much, but if you make X amount of dollars, the commission is in the absence of value, price is an issue. So to them it's price, but to you it's value, right? So, in helping you work and get a qualified buyer, would that not make a difference versus having a buyer you think is qualified, not having the financing approved, and then not go to closing? That's going to cause frustration and disappointment. So just having the conversation around that. I don't think I need a professional. Well, that's where you prove, exactly what the market's doing. Exactly, you have your resources, you have the contracts, you have all the things with that packet maybe and your supplemental documents and things they haven't even thought of, right? I don't cut my own hair for a good reason. I mean, I probably could take some scissors and cut my hair. It just wouldn't be the look I'm going for. And real estate is one of those things where people feel like they're very knowledgeable in it. And with the market right now, do Mr. Seller, the interest rates are at this amount? Do inventory is low? Do that works in your favor? Do you don't have to remodel that bathroom before you list this home? Right? Don't put yourself through the stress. A lot of people don't know that. So coming from contribution and understanding what their objections could be, what you're going to say because you know what they're going to say. So, I'm losing my page. Okay, so do you have the script booked from this lead generation 36-12-3? Did it come with, I know you said it came with some other stuff. Did it come with scripts too?
Let's see. Mine don't have the page numbers on it. So I'm just take action, Jeff. I have the script set appointment.
Yes. Yeah. It didn't have a slide for it. These slides for this section is a little weird. But yeah, so set appointment. Here's a good script. Hey, my name is Katie, and I'm a real estate agent with KW Montgomery. I'm wondering if your house is still for sale. That's a great opening question, because the opening question wasn't, can I list your house? Great. I work with a lot of buyers and sellers in this area, so I was just wondering how I could help you. So for sale by owner, I can't think of anything. Well, Mr. and Ms. Seller, if I could bring you an offer that would net you the amount of money you feel you must net in order to sell your home, you'd consider the offer, wouldn't you? Would the offer include a commission? If I bring the offer, it would. And my question is, if the offer nets you more, the amount of money you feel you must net, would you consider the offer? I guess so. To be sure, if your home will fit my buyer's needs, when would be a good time? When would be the best time to look at your home? Today at 3 or tomorrow at 9? Do you have someone in mind? I'm not sure. I can't tell until I see your home. You see, I preview houses for my buyers, and I only take them to houses I know that will meet their needs and wants. So until I see a house, I don't know if it will be appropriate for anyone I'm working with. I like to be familiar with everything that's on the market so I can provide the best possible service to my customers. So would you like me to put your house on the list of properties that I show my buyers? I guess that sounds okay. Terrific. When is a good time for me to come over? Today at 3 or tomorrow at 9? And just go into, I work with a lot of buyers and sellers in this area. I'm wondering if I could help you. These are really good scripts, Deanna. I would just pick one that feels good and natural to you and have that in front of you and do it a few times before you do your call. Because they've really gotten it down to, making it a win-win opportunity, coming from contribution, helping buyers and sellers in the area. So you don't have to be like, oh gosh, I hope they don't ask me blah, 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 blah. You kind of already feel comfortable with what you're going to be saying. Some additional questions. So tell me, why are you selling your home? Where are you moving to? Do you need assistance with the purchase of that home? May I help you find a qualified agent to assist you with your home search in Birmingham? When do you need to be there? What happens if you don't sell your house by then? Are you prepared to drop your price if your house doesn't sell before you need to move? I'm just curious, how do you determine your sales price? That's a really good question because people just think their house is worth so much money. On HGTV, it's $800,000. What are you going to do to market your house? How long have you lived in your house? What has to happen before you'll consider hiring a great agent like me to sell your house? When do you plan on interviewing agents for the job of selling your house? I would like to apply for the job of selling your home. Are you familiar with the powerful methods I use to sell homes? If you decide to hire a real estate agent, who would you use? How would you choose that agent and what do you expect them to do for you? Are you familiar with the powerful techniques I use to get homes sold? So there's several really awesome scripts in here. It goes with the objections. We're not paying a commission. Role model on commission. That means we don't have a lot of money for the commission. There's a follow-up call. So, what do you say when you do the follow-up? Tony DeCello goes through the 4 kinds of buyers. There's a lot of great, highlight these and keep these when you're doing your for sale by owner calls, because those will be really good resource for you. So always put your leads in your database. You want to implement your 8x8 that you're putting together. You want to send a thank you if anybody refers you business, and you want to follow up with them until they list with you, until they sell, or until they say, Deanna, stop calling me. All right, so here's some tips to work with expireds. 1, know what you're going to say. Prepare materials to give them. Create your 8x8 customized for expireds. Set your goals, find the expireds, be sure you're referencing the do not call, and organize your information. So here's an example 8x8. Call them and hand deliver an inspired packet. So you put together that packet just like the for sale by owners. And this is something I think agents underestimate. Have you for sale by owner materials, 2 or 3 little folders with information. Have expired 2 or 3 with information. Have a buyer packet, 2 or 3. Have a listing packet, 2 or 3. So that at any point in time, maybe in like a Tupperware container, whatever in your car, at any point in time, you can simply have a sticky note on it, what it is. You're ready to go and do business. And if you mean it, you're going to be ready. Because you know what you don't want to happen? Somebody say, Deanna, I'm ready to list with you. And you're like, oh, let me go get my stuff together. Which that's okay, but how professional do you seem when you're like, all right, is now a good time to sit down and do it? That seems super professional. So
What's the expired packet?
Huh?
What's the expired packet?
They have a list here with your logo folder. So you could do either if you had a Deanna Leslie logo, or if you have the KW Montgomery, you buy a packet of those.
Oh yeah, the packet. Okay.
The cover sheet about, hey, this is some information with expired, or this is the information to sell your home, or however you want to title that. Facts about expired listings, maybe why, you know, a home didn't sell the first time. Your mission statement, an introduction to you, you know, what about you, maybe some testimonials and a couple business cards. This could also be like a pre-listing packet if you think about creating pre-listing packets. So just some information about you, some tips on selling a home, you know, some of the resources, vendors maybe that you use, that sort of thing. So call and hand deliver the packet. Day 2, call and have the follow-up from the script on the following pages. There's some more scripts in here. Send a postcard or letter. Day 4, make a call to follow up on the postcard or letter. Day 5, send a marketing statistic, neighborhood report, CMA, something like that. Day 7, send a letter or a copy of your marketing plan. And day 8, make the telephone call. So the follow-up is in the following pages here, where it's got step 1, step 2, step 3. So each on your follow-up points, there's a script right here for you to use. You want to set your goals and take action. So you need to know the number of how many calls and how many, you know, appointments and all of that you need to work with if you're going to work the expireds. How much work does it take to get Deanna one listing, right? Because you're doing it and you're learning and putting together a plan right now. But what you want is for the months and years to come, you to just keep doing the same thing over and over that works. So, you know, this is my plan and this is my action and this is the results. You know, you want to systematize it so that's creating you, you know, a lot of pipeline. So for every 10 conversations, 1 to 3 appointments is a good goal. Of the 10 people you talk with, 1 to 2 will be unrealistic about price. 2 to 4 will say they're staying with their same agent. 1 to 2 will be willing, 1 to 2 people will be people you don't want to do business with, and 1 to 3 will set an appointment with you. So just remember, out of about 10, you're going to have several that are this kind of way, and several maybe you don't want to do business with, several that just a couple that say, you know what, I'm just going to stay with this other agent, which is fine because you don't always have to be the first choice, but as long as you are in their mind as the second choice, right? Because you never know what's going to happen. And you never know the level of customer service somebody is giving to someone else, right? We can just provide the best customer service we can do and let that speak for itself, because we have no idea what's really going on. And honestly, if these for sale by owners and expired, see how hard you're willing to work to get their listing or their business. That's going to show really good in their eyes on how hard you're going to work once you have their business. So it's a really great impression that you're making as a professional. So your homework is to call for sale by owners and expireds, and you're already doing that, Deanna. So I think that's amazing. And now hopefully from today, you've got a lot more ideas and things to do, and definitely some scripts. There's some really good scripts in here. You know, it's some really good materials to help you be prepared when working with for sale by owners or expires. What are your ahas from today, Deanna?
To do the packet list and gotta make the phone call. That's what I gotta really work on.
Mm-hmm. Mhm. Well, I think too, you know, when you open with the script of, are you still in the market to sell your home? Or, you know, let me go back to the scripts. Lost my place. I'm wondering if your house is still for sale. That just opens the doorway. You've already said who you are and who you work for. And so just let them talk, right? And then just say, hey, I'm working with buyers and sellers in the area. I was wondering if I could drop off some material I have. Now, with the expired, you are going to have to be doing some of that homework. When you do your expired list, you need to pull that back up in MLS and make sure it's not been relisted under a new MLS, because you don't want to, you know, try to attract other listings. That's an ethics, you know, problem. But with the for sale by owners, I mean, it's really just
It's straight up. You don't have.
open hunting, right? So we talked. Were you on the call that we did with Global Homes Group about the 36 touch?
Yes.
Stop recording. I don't want to share all the good stuff.